today we have two goals, all right? So we're going to take a compound and statement. So this is this down here. So where I have one inequality and another one. And we're going to write it using a single inequality called a compound inequality statement. All right, and then we're going to extend that to solving a compound inequality and graphing the solution set on our number line. All right, so let's look at number one here, and let's do what we did yesterday, which is to graph both of these, and we want them both to be true. So I've got an and statement here, which means they need to be true at the same time. So I want numbers x is greater than or equal to 0. So remember, greater than or equal to means we're going to fill in the circle, and we're going to shoot off to the right, because I want numbers that are larger than 0. And then for x is less than 6, I'm going to use an open circle here, and I'm going to shoot off to the left because I want the numbers that are less. All right, so the numbers that work for both are these where there's this overlap. So I'm going to fill in my circle at 0, and I'm going to leave it open at 6 because there's no overlap here, and I'm going to shade everything in between. All right, so I want you to actually jot that down, that our solutions are all numbers that are between 0 and 6. And the key word here is that we want the numbers between 0 and 6. That's actually going to help us out when we go to write our compound inequality as one statement. All right, so what I want you to think about here is that the smallest number on my interval here, that is the solution, is 0. The biggest number is 6, and that x is all these numbers in between. Any number in between is my x. All right, so if I'm putting these numbers in order from smallest to biggest, 0 goes first, and then x, and then 6. All right, and now here I want to use the symbols that I had up above. All right, so same symbols, but notice that in this case, I flip-flopped the inequality around. So my 0 is now on the left and my x is on the right. But notice, remember in like elementary school when you were talking about these, there was like an alligator. So the alligator is still eating the x here because the x is a little bit bigger. Okay, and here I've still got the same, the alligator should be eating the 6. All right, so to write it as one statement, basically what we're doing is we're flip-flopping that first statement. We're going to turn it around so that the x's kind of overlap each other, so that rather than writing two separate x's, I can just write one x statement. All right, and so we can test this with one of the numbers that's in my solution space. So let's test it. 0, 1, 2, 3. So this number right here is 3. So let's kind of take a peek at this. Now I don't want you maybe to jot this, or you can jot it off to the side if you want to have it on your paper. So if I take a 3 and I say that x is 3, now if I look at this, I got to have two true statements. So my first statement is this side, that 0 is less than or equal to 3. Well, that is true. And then I have to have this other statement also be true, that 3 is less than 6. That's also true. So they're both true at the same time. All right, so my final inequality is 0 less than or equal to x is less than 6. And we want to start reading this as that this x is all the numbers between 0 and 6. And if you look at it, in the final inequality, the x is actually in between the 0 and the 6. All right, so now let's take that and actually apply it to one that's already written as a compound statement. All right, so this again means that x is between -4 and 6. So -4 is my lowest value, 6 is my highest value, and I need to color in everything in between. So -4, I'm going to put a circle there, and I'm also going to put a circle on 6 because those are my endpoints. All right, now the circle at -4, because of this equal sign underneath, is going to get filled in. But the circle at 6 is going to stay open because there is no equal sign underneath that 6. All right, so I want all the x's to be all the way in between those two things. So I just shade in the middle. All right, and again, if you want, you can double check that. All right, pick a number that's in there. So say 0. All right, so 0 is colored in right now. All right, -4 is less than 0. That's true. 0 is less than 6. That's also true. So this compound statement altogether is true. And this is my solution. All right, so let's look at an application problem here. So we've got a recipe for baking cookies. It says that they must be baked anywhere from between 16 and 20 minutes. All right. Write a compound inequality to express the amount of time t that the cookies must bake for. All right, so I have three numbers here. I've got 16, and then I've got t, and then I've got 20. T is the time for the cookies, and that has to be between 16 and 20. All right, so let's pick a number so that we can make sure that we fill in the right symbols here. So a number that's between 16 and 20, let's go 18. That will help us with our symbols. All right, so if I want to do 16 and compare it to 18 here, well, if I'm comparing those two things, then my symbol should go this way. All right, because this is the bigger number. But if I'm comparing now 18 to 20, now my symbol needs to go and eat the 20. So if I've got, again, if the alligator is trying to eat the bigger number, it's going to be eating the 20. So we say 16 less than or equal to t, which is also less than or equal to 20. So again, my t is in between my two endpoints, my low point and my top point. And basic rule of thumb here is that the arrows will just always point to the left. It's not 100% always true, but if you go that way, 90% of the time you'll be correct. Okay? All right, so let's do that. Let's put it all together into one. So we're going to solve this. All right, now this is the trickiest part. All right, so I want you to jot that the goal is get x alone in the center. Oops. We'll call it the middle. All right, so when I finish, I'm going to have a number, and then the symbol, and then x, and then another symbol. So I want to know x is between what two numbers, okay? So remember, all our standard rules for inequalities apply. If you divide by a negative, you need to flip the sign. So I think on your paper what I did was, so that we could make sure that we saw this, I changed this to a negative so that you would have an example, but I didn't change it on my page. All right, so let's change it to a negative. If it's not there, do it now. And then I'm going to jot this down at the bottom so we have more space. So negative 9 is less than negative 2x minus 5, less than or equal to 11. All right, now, instead of just having two sides like we do in an equation, I've really got three sides. So I want you to draw these two boundaries, okay? And you're going to treat it like equal signs. Now remember, you're not actually changing it to equal signs. So we're going to bring this symbol down, but we're going to follow the rules for solving just like always. So if I want to get x alone in the center here, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this minus 5. So I'm going to add 5 in the center. But then I'm going to add 5 to both the left side over here and the right side over here. So all three pieces need to stay the same all the time. All right, so now in my center, I've got negative 2x. And then on this side on the left, I've got negative 9 plus 5. Negative 9 plus 5 is negative 4. And then on the right here, I've got 11 plus 5, which is 16. Okay, so now I need to divide. All right, so I'm dividing by negative 2. Divide by negative 2 on the right, and also divide by negative 2 on the left. All right, so now, because I divided by a negative, on my very next step, I'm going to flip the symbols. So just change direction. Do not change the equal sign or anything like that. All right, so here I get negative 4 divided by negative 2. That's 2. Here I get just the x that I wanted. And here, 16 divided by negative 2 is negative 8. Now notice, remember I said before that the symbols will always point to the left, but notice at this point they're pointing to the right. But also notice that my smallest number is over to the left. So I want to flip this entire inequality so that the numbers are in order. So I'm going to start with negative 8, and I'm going to put 2 on the other side, and then their x. So again, my alligator here is eating the 2, so I'm going to make it that way. And my alligator in this one is eating the x, so I'm going to make it go this way. And so I notice that if I flip it around, again, my arrows, when I put it in nice order, so smallest to largest, my arrows again are pointing to the left. Okay, so now we want to graph that. Alright, so we're going to make a nice number line here. And again, you don't have to draw all the numbers between -8 and 2. So maybe -8, -6, -4. It's okay to count by 2s because then I'll hit both numbers that I want. 2, 4. Okay, so again, I want -8. That's one end. 2 is my other end. Alright, and I want to fill in the circle for this -8 because it's got the line underneath. And I'm going to leave the 2 open because it does not. And remember, I want all the numbers in between. Okay, so there's my solution. So any number that is in this area will make that original equation a true statement. Okay, alright, so remember, this goes fast, okay? The notes are meant to go fast so that those of you who can pick up on it real quick can move on. But those of you who need to watch the video again, there's no shame in that. Just watch the video again, slow it down, pause it. If you need to stop and say, oh, what did she say? I don't understand that. Or if you have a question and you don't understand something, just put a little star in the margin and circle it and say, ask about this, right? And then just point to it, and then next time you're in class, you can ask me that question, or you can ask a friend that question, all right? Sometimes your friends can explain it better than I can because they speak teenager and I don't. All right, you guys got practice problems to do? Make sure that you're finishing all of your practice problems. If you don't do all the practice problems, you'll never pass the Regents. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, bye guys.